Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to review round 14 of the 2025 NRL Supercoach season, and just another terrible week for myself. 12-10 was all I scored this week. Saw me drop 3,000 spots in the ranks, so back outside the top 40k, and yeah, nothing to show for league wins or anything this week. Let's do it. Alright, so I guess the first disaster of the week was Wade Egan being a late out. Obviously with Sandon Smith being my other hooker, meant that I was without a hooker this week, which was going to activate the auto emergency. Which in the end was probably a good thing. So, not ideal, but it is what it is. Terrell Mayer's captain, pretty good with an 80. You know, that's a solid score. Payne Haas with 73 was good. So Hamish Stewart we opted for over Hubner, which was the wrong decision there. Just the 43 for Stewart. Pasifiki Tonga was actually the auto emergency that I referred to, so 36 from him was actually pretty useful given a couple of the other scores. Kalal Matangi though smashed it again with a 119. Dylan Lucas was solid with the 70. Big Tino with the 51. So Jerome Hughes was probably the standout though, a 136 from him. And is on his final bye this week. So after this week, he is good to go for the rest of the year. So we'll hang on to him this week, and we'll definitely be using him moving forward. King Togia with a 48 would have been preferable over Jaden Campbell. Unfortunately, only getting a 27 this week. Luke Metcalf with 74 was good. And then the backline. So this is, I guess, where all the carnage has occurred. Herbie Farnworth was not one of them though. 105 was fantastic for him. But KL Ero, 41 despite scoring a try. And unfortunately doing a bicep injury, I think it was, or a pec injury. Some sort of injury where he is going to be out for a while. Lehigh Hopewadi, unfortunately, early HIA, so only getting a 2-point return from him. I guess with the flex, it was good that we lost that score. Bo Fermor with the 62, so decent enough score. Kiraz was great yesterday with the 90-point return. But then Sav Tamale, another early HIA, so a 3-point return, and because we threw away Hopewadi's 2, we actually had to cop a 3-point score in our final 17. So between, that Campbell sort of flopping and, having to cop Pasifiki Tonga's auto emergency, it was never going to end well. And then at fullback, Iongi, 45. I mean, probably, the wet weather and the Bulldogs defense just strangled the Eels. So that's probably about as good as we could have expected from that. And Pappy with a 75. Given how dominant the Storm were, I don't remember the scoreline off the top of my head. 38-14. Was hoping for a little bit more from him, but that's fine. We'll take that. Have a quick look at everyone else's team before we go through the chaos that is the Angry Pirates. So in the first league, probably the closest I got to a win. 1270 for Blue Bags though was good enough for David. Fletcher Sharp tunning up, Ola Kawatu tunning up, Ruben Garrick with an 82. Captain Cleary, so I'll probably have the right captaincy call, but again, just too many low scores. But I guess another unfortunate soul who had the Tamale Hopewadi combo. So, at least got something out of it this week. Across the league, 15-29. So I guess that's why he's number one. Gary, no spoon this year. Far from it. I think I might have to change my name to Yes Spoon this year. Fletcher Sharp, Olaquatu, Asako turned up, Kaloa Matangi, had Drinkwater ton up, Farnworth, Captain Cleary, so probably even left a few points on the table, but just all hits. I think Joey Tarpany, Tino was the lowest, so Tarpany and Fanua Blake up front, 55, 56, but I would have done disgusting things to get that sort of score this week out of my lowest scoring players. So well done, Gary. Absolutely carving up. In the second league, 100-point defeat to Justo's Dynasty, Justin's team. So another 1-2 punch of Sharp and Olakuatu. Scotty Drinkwater tonning up. Eli Katoa with a 94. And then just solid contributions across the board. Even a 42 from Garner wasn't the worst shout. So he had Tamale drop off. Having a look. So 1475 for Blitzkrieg. So Sam, again, another well-placed team in the league. Another Fletcher Sharp owner. Jerome Hughes. So there's one I got right. Captain Kaloa Matangi. So that's a great return there. Yeah, and just solid scores all the way through. Had Hopewadi, so again, you could afford to have one of those guys, but if you had the two and then you had Eero and Egan a late out, it was just not great. And then I guess the third league, so again, another reason why Ibrahim's number one in this league, 1429, so Sharp, Drinkwater, Katoa, Captain Cleary, had Jerome Hughes, Farnworth, Kaloa Matangi. So, those three big scores I had all cancelled out and then just dropped another couple of tons and 90s and 80s on my head. Let's see, 1471 is slightly better. So I think Scott's got it in the third league, Super Troopers. So Tommy Jenkins with a 151, that is a massive play. Well done there. Olaquatu scored well, Drinkwater, Katoa. So lots of good options there. Plenty of points on the bench too. How about Scott United, 1354, and left Tom Jenkins on the pine. That is 1500. Probably would have done enough to win maybe if the right trade was there. Maybe, yeah, swap him for Eero. Would have gone pretty close. So if we go back to matchups, have a look in the overall league too. Probably haven't done this for a while, been a bit guilty of that. So Blitzkrieg, Sam's team, 1475 moves to the top of the overall rankings. And I need the league to see the overall rankings. So yeah, into the top 200 overall. So well done, Sam. I'll sort by points scored, see if there was anyone else. So 1534 for Carney Camelbacks, Michael's team. So let's see, you had Cam McInnes at hooker, Harson, yep. So stacked front row. Yeah, Eli Katoa on the bench, nice. Jerome Hughes scored. Matty Burton with a 99, that's a nice little pod. Albeit probably won't be available this week, so that's a bit stiff. Had a Sarko, Sharp, Garrick, Farnworth in the flex, Pappy, so some good scoring there. Lots of tonnage. So I guess while we're here, we should probably do the leagues. Like I said, I probably haven't paid enough attention to this just because I'm going so bad. But so no spoon this year, 10-3 record alongside the Drop Bears. So where am I sitting? 8 points. So it's still possible. I'm only a cup or three wins outside the 8. That's tough given that we haven't got that many rounds to go. But Blue Bags, Sir David's team I played this week, just basically got a free win. Dragons Lair, Shano always doing well. I think I saw he was doing pretty well in the AFL too. So killing it. Um, yeah, so the Mark, oh sorry, Jeff is in 8th. I was looking at LA Knight there in 10th. In terms of total points, so Gary going well inside the top 1,000. Shano's, inside the top 3,000 now, which is good. It starts to fall away a little bit, but again, I'd be pretty happy with any of these ranks at the moment compared to 41,000. In the second league, so Shake and Bake with an 11-2 record. Cameron is killing it. Shoaib, he's always at the top of the table for all of the fantasy leagues, so wouldn't expect any different here. Blitzkrieg in third, despite probably being number one overall. Yep. So yeah, Shoaib inside the top 2K. Matty Ross Disciples and Inside Out inside the top 10K. So well done, guys. And then in the third league, so the Savage Bulldogs are 10-3 on top. Hull White Star Oliver doing well in Dream Team as well, but doing good in Supercoach. Super Troopers we looked at before. But in terms of overall, so Ibrahim in the top 1,000. Steve not too far off in 1262. A few guys in the 3,000s there. So a couple of Scots and Rick. Good stuff, boys. And then I think I glanced over this pretty quickly, but we do have, the top three all inside the top 300. So hopefully the boys can do well for the league, but you can see a few in the top 2,000 as well. So Resert James, Rania as well. So just trying to pick out the people that weren't in one of the previous leagues. But yeah, I guess, what are we, 92 teams, and where am I sitting? Something like 65th. Good to see Theo still sticking with me despite not being able to play Supercoach down in 41,000. So I guess as well with round 14, it's the halfway point of the season basically. We're over halfway there. So I guess it's a good opportunity to reflect on where it all went wrong. So if you're not aware, you can access your trade history based on going to the history tab. It gives you like all the round ranks and whatnot. So obviously we just started off terribly. Round one with an 11.31, and going through some of the picks here, and how it worked out, it sort of makes sense why that was the case. Yeah, and so I guess particularly with all the boosts and all that, just didn't really do anything for us. Like, so 4 weeks of being ranked disgustingly in the rounds just saw us sink way too deep. And then a little turnaround with the top 1,000 finish in round 7, and a couple of good weeks off the back of that, but then just sliding back into mediocrity. So having a look at the trades, like the first one, probably Purdue, selling him at 257k hurt us a lot. Cost us a trade in about 300k. Like starting with Leia Tower, I think that mid-price strategy just didn't work out. Obviously injury played a part. Where is he? Drell Skelton injured. We tried to hold on and then he just re-injured himself. So that wasn't a smart move. Hetherington was a bust. Tuolangi was a bust. RTS was an unfortunate injury. But then even like the players we brought in, like Arthur's made some quick cash. That was good. Got us, well, it didn't even really get us to Teddy because we traded Turbo. I think that was a good move in hindsight. Tommy Gilbert, I think he injured. Maybe not then, but got rid of him. Finifuaki was a bust. Humphries made a bit of cash, but probably jumped off early there because of injury. So there was a lot of injuries too. Like there has been a bit of bad luck, but like Tuipulotu injured. So I think this was good. Like having that cash to upgrade the centre wings was nice. Like Savala's made a good bit of cash. Wade Egan we bought in for 600k, so we've lost 120k in value. So we probably bought him at the peak, which is never ideal. Billy Smith hasn't really done a lot for us since we bought him in. Ponga was a bit of a bust. Barnett, played well but didn't translate to Supercoach scoring. Dylan Egan was quite good though, so that's a win. Rob Toyer was obviously great, but we brought in Zach Hosking. Fanua Blake was a mistake, so we've sort of spent the last couple of weeks chasing our tail there. And then unfortunately Hopewadi getting injured just continues the bad luck. And Iro, we only had him for a couple of weeks, and he's gone and injured himself, unfortunately. So yeah, there's definitely some things we could have done better to start the year, but particularly this last few weeks. I guess like round 10 is an interesting one because we didn't actually trade. We tried to hold trades, and I don't know if that cost us. And then we've just been in a hole that we can't seem to get out of. So I guess then the question is, what do we do now? One positive is I think we're pretty good for this week. So if we just shuffle around the players, so Sandon Smith should be good to go this week. Sounds like Sam Walker's coming back, so there's a question mark on Savala. Nafahu White, hopefully back from injury, is going to be helpful this week. So I'm just going to reset the reserves as well. So, I think we'll get Hubner as well. Hopefully we get Savala. Kalal Matangi, I'm not quite sure if 19th man has to travel to Perth. So whether he is available this week or not, but a lot of players have him, so excuse me, got the hiccups. So not too sure there, but we'll play King Togia this week. Probably not ideal, but another sort of cheapie that hasn't quite worked out. And then in the back line, we've probably got to swap out Iro because of injury, Hopewadi because of injury. So we do at least have the numbers there. Iongi is probably going to get traded this week, and Tedesco. So, just having a look through, we've got 13, 14, maybe 15. So it's somewhere between 13 and 15 currently. But we do have the ability to make some trades this week. So what I'm thinking is going with 2 trades. So Tamale sounds like he's going to be out for a while, but he has definitely done his job for us. So based on break evens, we're going to go with the cheapie Nathan Lawson, bring him in, which does free up a lot of cash. There was a fair bit of cash sitting here in the centre wing, and we're going to use some of that to upgrade Iongi to Scotty Drinkwater. So that's not what I wanted. So this was always the plan, to get Drinkwater in, and this is pretty much the fullback trio we're happy to run with for the rest of the year. And we do have a bit of money in the bank, so I guess looking forward, we could potentially trade out Iro or Hopewadi this week. Hopewadi obviously won't play this week, has the bye next week, so it's really unfortunate. But and people saying, Tommy Turbo will be back this week, so he's not worth sort of holding on to, but I think he still goes all right on the wing. There we go. Sorry about that. Microphone just cut out. So Hopewadi I think is a hold. Iro is probably more of the sell, but I guess trying to plan ahead for next week. round 16 where we might be a little bit short, although we don't have Yo and Cleary and those sorts of guys, which is handy. But I have made some little notes here on the notepad. So the plan is next week to go Iro to Eli Katoa. So as I mentioned earlier, the Storm have their final bye. So they're the first team to finish all three of their byes. So obviously round 16 on, get on Hughes, get on Pappy, and Eli Katoa is probably the other one I want to target. So with the Dylan Lucas DPP, I can actually trade Iro to Katoa, make a bit more of a profit. And then given the news that they're probably going to rest Cleary next week as well, I'm hoping to squeeze a little bit more cash out of King Togia and basically in round 17 trade him to Cleary. So those are the two planned trades. Obviously there's still a bit of wiggle room for injuries and the like. And then round 18, I haven't really assessed it yet, but I had always planned on using like 4 trades, so using one of the boosts and, starting to line up the team for the run home. And then, I guess around round 19 and 20, we want to try to get these guns in. So looking through the team, I'm happy with the front row. The halves will be set once I bring Cleary back in. The fullbacks, as I said, that's pretty much the combo I'm happy to run with. So it's really just looking at the hooker position. The second row could do with a bit of an upgrade, and in the centre wing. So, generally I'm feeling pretty good about the centre wings. So Kiraz, Farnworth, Fermor. It'll be Lucas in place of Iro, and then Hopewadi is that 5th option. But obviously the target will be Lomax post-Origin. I think, he's a keeper, so 6 decent centre wings would be fantastic. It may be Hopewadi just goes to Lomax if we can't get the cash. So 5 or 6 centre wings will be good. In the second row is probably where we can do the most improvement. We've got Klamatangi and Tino are probably the 2 keepers. Obviously bringing in Eli Katoa next week is the 3rd. And so then the targets. I like Jacob Preston, but he is pretty expensive. In saying that, I do have a bit of cash in the likes of a Savala, Hubner, even Nafahu White. If I trade them down, I can sort of upgrade 1, downgrade 1 sort of thing. Hopefully to get Preston, or, we may have to settle for Hamole. In an ideal world, we get both. But you never know. And then at hooker, I think Connor Watson is the clear number 1. So, being able to hopefully upgrade these guys would be nice. I'm not too sure who the second hooker is. Maybe just Harry Grant. I'll put him in there at the little question mark. But that could come down to just what cash is available. So that's probably like the luxury final upgrade. We've got heaps of trades to do it, so I think it's possible. And yeah, so it'd be like, trying to target the likes of Preston in round 18 even. Just trying to, if we can make that work, to just sort of really let rip in round 19, 20. I think maybe Manly are on the bye, so it would be like Watson and Grant if they back up from Origin 3. I think the Eels might have a bye round 19 too. I don't fully remember. But then, yeah, we can hit whoever's left in round 20. And then, I guess one thing that we do have up our sleeve, I think, is a few extra trades. So we might just be relying on a bit of misfortune of others and, might be able to make a mad rush towards the head-to-head finals to try and squeeze in 1 or 2 of them. But even then, I don't think that's likely. So it's probably just killing time till 2026. So I've made the 2 trades for this week. I haven't actually locked in Lawson to play. Put Drinkwater. So we have now stretched this squad out to 17 this week. So, we might have a few lowish numbers, but they should drop out of our best 13. So just quick captain, vice captain discussion. So I got the Sharks and Dragons first up. So if you've got a Nico Hines, he would be a great VC, I think. I don't. So we're going to look to Friday's game. Jaden Campbell, I guess, we've got him in the team. Take a punt on him. And then in terms of the captaincy, the obvious one I think is Matangi as a nice safer option. Bit of a riskier option is looking at one of Kiraz or Farmworth. I guess even Tedesco on Saturday against the Knights isn't the worst shout. It's got Drinkwater as well, so it's probably, there is some options back here. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Obviously, team list dependent. Again, I know Burton's probably going to miss because he's the 18th man for New South Wales. But Matangi is 19th. I don't know if he has to be in Perth the whole time or if they're going to let him play in Sydney on Sunday and then fly back. It remains to be seen. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. It's probably been a long video, mostly me having a whinge, but it's it is what it is. I guess at least it's going well in the other format. So obviously, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the Supercoach content, or at least the feeling of superiority, knowing that you're better than me at it. Subscribe for the other fantasy sports content on the channel. I am doing better in the other fantasy formats, I promise. But yeah, other than that, catch you in the next one.